Hi, Jess.
Hey Annabelle, how you doing?
Good. I don't know what the heck I do with this mouse. My gosh. All right. Give me a second. All right. Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? Michael, how are you?
Good. How are you? Of
All right, very good. Thanks for joining in.
course. Thank you for the invite.
My pleasure. Just give it a few minutes and
Sure.
let's see here. Telesia, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good evening or afternoon, wherever you are. How are
All
you?
right, very good. Well, afternoon for me. Are you back east?
Yes, so it's actually early evening for me.
Very good. Yeah, it's still it's about 2 o'clock for us out here in California.
California, yeah.
Yeah.
How is the weather up there?
You know, it's a sunny day. It's nice. Can't
Oh.
complain. How about where you're at? Where are you at?
Actually, I'm in Atlanta, so it's pretty warm and
Oh,
sunny
that's
too.
good. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the call.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. Hey, William, how are you?
Finding you, how are you doing? I thought I was muted already. How have you been?
Well, I'm doing well.
I was going to text you to see how you're doing, and all the fires and things that are going on out there, making sure you're okay.
You were okay. Yeah, they're
Good.
not anywhere near where I'm at
Good.
least. They're not, yeah. So thank goodness we're all doing good.
Good.
And how's the weather in New York?
Well, the last couple of days it's just been cloudy, but not raining. So that's good. And tomorrow's supposed to be warm the next
Oh,
couple
okay.
of days. So I'm thankful.
Oh, that's
I'll
good.
take it. It could be cold. It could be cold. So
I know. All right, very good. Let me get a couple more people in and we'll get started. Give me a second here. Perfect. Let me just move this. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Annabelle Pacheco. I am a real estate broker and an investor. I've been in business for 24 years, and I am part of a global real estate company called eXp Realty. My goal for this weekly call is really to share with everyone on this call the steps that I took to purchase my first multifamily deal, really also to bring guest speakers from the multifamily space to share with us and expand our knowledge. And also, you know what, just a way for us to learn here and go out and do it for yourself. So excited to be able to share this information with you guys. I really encourage everyone to participate, ask questions. This is a safe place. We're here to just learn from each other, share information with each other, and just make things work for everybody. I am not selling anything. I'm not offering anyone anything, and I am not a financial advisor in any way. I am just sharing my story with everyone on this call and just the things that I've come in contact with and what I have done so far that have led to a successful, what's the word I want to say? Like just it's a successful transaction in the multifamily world. Just a little information about myself. I started in the mortgage industry back in the mid 90s, was involved in over 100 properties really throughout my career. We rehabbed, flipped, single family and 2 to 4 units. We managed 2 to 4 units as well. and was just constantly flipping. I didn't really hold a lot of properties. I think if I would have held on to all those properties right now, I mean, they'd be worth, my gosh, like 10 times what we were buying them for. But I mean, you just kind of live and learn and go through this. And for us at that time, it was really just about creating some capital from these flips and then buying some more properties to, again, increase the capital. And in 2001, we deviated a bit from real estate. We built a 150 capacity restaurant from ground up. We had servers, managers, chefs, including about 15 people really on staff. And in the last 10, 11 years, I have focused my business in representing clients in residential and commercial real estate. I purchased my first multifamily deal 6 years ago in Texas, and that was 34 doors that I was able to find. And at that point, for me, it was really, we were kind of looking at how are we going to just create cash flow and generational wealth. After a while, you just get tired of constantly just flipping and yes, you make good money, but then you have to put that back in and it's just never ending. And it's just nice to know that the first of the month, money between the 1st and the 5th, money comes into your bank account and you're really not, going out and working for it. It's just now this property that you've worked hard at is now producing this money for you. And so here are the reasons why I invested in multifamily property. And you know what? And it will be different for everyone, but I hope that this inspires you guys to go out and do the same thing. So number one, like I had mentioned, cash flow was something that we were really looking for. And just very like preliminary, cash flow is your rental income minus all of your expenses, right? That's what you're getting. That's what this property is producing for you on a monthly basis. Number two, it was like, what a great opportunity to have your tenants pay down your loan. It's awesome. You don't feel it, and it doesn't even matter, right? If you have this loan, if this property is producing enough to pay for that, and you're still left over with a decent cash flow. Number three, it was appreciation. And I have to tell you guys, when I bought my property back in 2015, the property appreciation in Texas was not the way that I was used to it here in California. California's appreciation is very, very strong. And in Texas, it was, and this is 6 years ago, for me, and what, just from studying the market and talking to agents and just people that were in the market, we were really just looking at cash flow and how are we going to just increase that cash flow. We thought, okay, well, if it appreciates, it'll just appreciate over the long haul, and that's okay. We're keeping this property for a long time. It doesn't matter. Well, a couple things happened, and the market market appreciation in Texas has quadrupled or even more in value right now. And I'll explain to you guys on the next slide. But another one of the reasons why we decided to go into multifamily was the tax benefits, right? There's many other tax benefits, but these were the ones that we identified with that we thought we'd be able to use as well. And that was depreciation, right? Which allows you to expense a portion of the physical structure each year. And then a 1031 exchange, which allows you to defer the capital gain taxes. And there's no limit to how many times you could do this. So I am currently in the process of selling my property, and I am doing a 1031 exchange. So let me share with you guys kind of in a nutshell what I happened to stumble across and what we purchased. We purchased a property that is called a value add multifamily. And this is, it's just that it's a property that allows you to improve its condition, increase its rent, And by doing those things, you now increase the value of the property. And so when we purchased this property, we picked it up for $850,000. When I was talking to the agent happened to be the owner of the property, and I was a buyer who happened to be an agent. So we were both representing ourselves, and we negotiated. And I've represented clients, and I've always done a lot of I've always done a lot of negotiating for them, and it was kind of my time to, all right, I'm going to negotiate this deal for myself. And it was pretty cool because the seller was very, very open to carrying or to financing the note or the difference for us for 2 years. I'm sure he did the numbers and it made sense, and he was going to make probably more money than what he was producing on that property, because that property needed a lot of work. And so just so that you guys understand, I paid $850. I gave him $350 down, and then we did a note for $500,000 for 2 years. This allowed me, those 2 years, it allowed me to take, to start working on chunks of property. So of units. So I started off like in groups of 5s. We gave notices right away and vacated people as soon as possible, and just went in there and started remodeling and updating and just cleaning everything up so that we could now increase the rents. And by year 2, we were able to pretty much refinance. The value of the property priced at 1.6, so almost double. And we got a loan for $1 million, pretty much got all of our money back, plus some more, have zero of our own money invested in this property today. And we're looking at a value of $2.7 million. So right here, this is a perfect example of a value add multifamily. And you know what, we're going to have other guests, I'm sure, and even Michael, who's going to be speaking today. A lot of groups that are purchasing, they have a plan to sell their properties between 3 and 5 years. And after doing these improvements, they're able to either refinance, cash out, give all the investors back their money, and then continue reaping the benefits of it until they decide to sell, or they decide to sell so that they can now either double up, they use the appreciation 1031 exchange into something bigger. And that's just pretty much how you grow and are putting yourself in a position, right, where you're now acquiring more doors. So here is a picture of the building that I own. So there's this building you guys are looking at is 24 doors, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And you're looking at another building, which is 10 units, 2 bedrooms, and 1.5 bath. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment here. Any questions so far? Because I know I've talked a lot. Any questions? All right. Give me 1 second. Let me get everyone in here. So today I invited Michael to be our guest speaker and share some of the projects that he's currently working on. And I think that this is important and great for everyone to see what's out there, right? What are people working on? What are they doing? And possibly even gives you guys an opportunity if you're looking to invest and you don't have all the money to go out and invest, you find groups that are possibly syndicating to purchase these deals. And, obviously you do your due diligence, you make sure you do, you investigate and do everything and you look at the numbers. And if the deal makes sense, then you know what, it gives you an opportunity to join in. And so Michael, I you know what? I welcome you and would love for you to share with everyone what you're working on, what kind of deals, you're out looking or possibly raising capital. And so please go for it.
Yes, thank you, Annabelle. I appreciate it. Welcome to her show, everyone. My name is Michael McCoy. I am in Southern California. Just a quick synopsis about me. I went to UCLA for chemical engineering. Obviously, I'm not involved in engineering anymore, but I was always good at math and science. So that's kind of what led me to pursue that. After school, I became really interested in real estate while I was on the job with the engineering consulting firm downtown. And I started with what a lot of people do, which is Robert Kiyosaki books, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and his whole series. And that got me really motivated to pursue real estate. And I got my license in about 2007. And I started just representing friends and family on the buyer and selling side. And then I started going to networking events for real estate investing. And that's where I met one of my current mentors, who's been involved in my process the last 15 years and learned a lot from him. And he got me involved in flipping single family houses, wholesaling, mostly single family houses here in Southern California and a couple other states. And I learned a lot from him doing that. Fast forward to 2019, I became more interested in multifamily. I wanted to accelerate. Single family is great, but I had interest of scaling a little bit more quickly. And then COVID hit. So I own 3 single family homes that are rentals in Northern Ohio, which cash flow, which is great. But I still had desires to, instead of buying one a year, to possibly buy several houses a year or to move into multifamily. So once COVID hit, I still had a W-2 job in accounting, and that I decided that that's not what I wanted to do. The beginning of this year, we separated ways. I was very happy, and then I just hit real estate full time. So currently, I am an agent still in California, but only for investors. So I have a small pool of cash investors who have me submit hundreds of offers a month because they buy so many properties. So that's something I do. But I really have hit multifamily desires the last 6 months full time. So I closed the deal with one of my cash investors last month, and the listing agent told me about Annabelle and what she was involved in, and that's kind of how I got here today. So what I wanted to talk to with everyone today is about a deal I'm pursuing in Northern California. It's a multifamily apartment building. It's 98 units. It's a 55 and older independent senior living facility, but it's just an apartment where folks just happen to be 55 years or older. They're independent, they can work, they're not being assisted. They're just a community of the same age. And it's for sale. I have a listing broker who's been sending me deals to evaluate the last several years. And I have an analyzer that I run through the numbers to make sure it marks off a couple boxes, which I'll get into. And this one happened to. The seller, he wants to retire from the space. The listing agent was pretty frank with me, and he wants to cash out. He did put a lot of money into this particular building. He bought it in 2015 for a paltry 1.5 million, which is almost nothing for something that size. But when he bought it, it wasn't where it is now. He has put about $5.75 million into it. And that's to upgrade the large things such as boilers and air conditioning units and interior upgrades, exterior upgrades, landscaping, the common grounds. So he has done a lot. And this is not his first rodeo. He owns several of these, but now he wants to buy something closer to home in San Diego. And this is all information provided to me by the listing agent. So my interest is because there's a value add opportunity, which Annabelle spoke to about the multifamily she bought in 2015 for herself. My interest in multifamily right now is buying something where there's room to increase rents, which means increase the cash flow, which means increase the value. So with this particular deal, it has a vacancy of 9%, which is about 8 units, which is okay. So my goal is to go in and increase the value where I can. And the listing agent was frank with me and telling me that the biggest piece that could be added to increase the value with this particular deal is to add kitchenettes. So the caveat with this particular apartment building is that they provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the residents, which is unheard of in this space. You know, usually there's a special luncheons or holiday celebrations or things of that nature. I know that because my mom lives in a 55 and older building in North Hollywood, but no one provides 3 meals a day for residents that isn't assistant living. So that interests me a lot. And it happened to me in California, and deals in California are very expensive. Usually I look out of state, but on this particular deal, because all the numbers worked when I ran it through my analyzer, I had a strong interest. So
You know something going.
so I ran the numbers, and in California, I'll explain some of the terms I'm going to use, but the cap rate in California is very small. What that means is when you have a low cap rate, that means your values are very high or your prices are very high. The higher the cap rate, your values are lower or the price is lower. So comparing California to other states in multifamily space, California is known to have very low cap rates, which means our properties are very valuable, which means the price to get in is usually very high compared to other states. Example, this particular property, the seller would like a price of $13.5 million, which is very, very high. However, it's in Northern California, which is a little bit different than Southern California, where I live, which is one of the most expensive places in the country. Northern California, the cap rates are a little bit higher, which allows, you know, investors potentially like me to get in where I couldn't here down in Southern California. So in this particular deal, the cap rate is quoted at 6%. And I did some research and I verified that is the case, which is good to know. But obviously that price of $13.5 million can only be justified if the rents and all the other incomes support it. So what happens is when you consider a multifamily project, you're usually given an offering memorandum or OM, which is basically a brochure for the property. It has all the things the owner has done, all the things the owner thinks can be done, all the rents, all the expenses, all the other incomes, which could be like laundry or storage and things of that nature. All of that is broken down into categories for you as a potential buyer to evaluate. So, of course, when you get the offering memorandum, it's going to be very pretty. It's going to be very glitzy. My job is to break it down to the nuts and bolts to make sure it does qualify with what they're mentioning to me. So the biggest piece of multifamily investing that I found is the loan. It all qualifies itself based on what it brings in cash flow wise. So I had never, this is my first foray into multifamily investing, as I said. So the first thing I do is try to find lenders who are open to that space and looking to do deals. So I Googled lenders in the area because a local lender is always, pretty good compared to national ones because they know the area, they know the properties. And I found a couple lenders in the city is Carmichael, California. And I told them about the deal. I sent them all the information to evaluate, and they're a broker, so they can service the deal with several lenders of their picking and several types of lenders. So there's several components to lending a multifamily, and these brokers were eager to evaluate the deal for me and see if it would work. But of course, they wanted to know what price the seller was looking for, so they kind of know how far off we are from where the seller is, or are we on the same page? And I mentioned that the price the seller would like to get is $13.5 million, which is what I was told out the gate. So the local lenders, they evaluated the property. They went to their lenders. They worked with several, and we went back and forth with additional information we needed from the seller, which in this case was what we call a rent roll, which is a list of all the rents of all the tenants as we speak and what they're paying, what their security deposit was, how long their lease is, are they month to month? We want to know all of that. And we also want to gather a document called the T12, which is basically like a rolling list of expenses versus the rents coming in and other income coming in. So we know what is the net operating income once we subtract expenses from the income. That's very important to calculate that cap rate that I mentioned. And once we have all of those actuals, not just the projections, but the actuals, then the lenders that the brokers are encountering can tell us, does this property service itself? Meaning, can this property pay for itself? That's the most important piece to the puzzle. So I've been working on this deal maybe 5 to 6 weeks. We've had several calls with the listing broker and his group. I've had several calls with my lenders and with my broker through his lenders. And we've come to a point where I don't want to use the word impasse, but we're at a point to where almost the rubber meets the road. So what that means is I don't think the property is worth what the seller thinks it's worth, which is common. I am not going to overpay for a property if I don't have to. I don't think anybody should if you don't have to. So based on the actuals versus the projections, I can say this. What the property was when the seller bought it, he's done a wonderful job to turn it around to where it is now. The cash flow, the rents that are coming in currently are almost $2 million. When he acquired it, the rents were, I don't even think a fifth of that. So he did a great job in turning it around, but it still has to support that me as a new investor getting a new loan with a new tax assessment, the property can pay for itself. So fast forward to this past week, we have 3 lenders who want to do the deal based on the numbers. And those numbers are based on the rolling 12 months, which is the T12 I mentioned. So where the property was 12 months ago to where it is now, is there a runway of increased rents? Is there a runway of decreased expenses? Where is the property going? The lender wants to know where it's going. So the last 3 months, which is essentially called the T3 because we're focused on the last 3 months, the seller has increased the rent another 20%. So the lenders do like the fact that there is a runway present, and they know that I have an inclination to increase the rents even more with the value add proposition. So my value add would be the following. There's 44 units that need kitchenettes. The seller informed the listing agent that is what the value add play would be for me, because even though those meals are provided, and by the way, those meals are paid for separately outside of rent. So that's extra income these meals bring in. But even though those meals are available, some folks still want to cook on their own. And most of these units are very small. They're just studios and 1 bedrooms. There's no 2 bedrooms. So most of these people are living alone and they enjoy their independent lifestyle, but they would like to cook sometimes if they choose to, and they would need that kitchenette installed in those units. So my value add play would be to install those kitchenettes, which would be 44 units. And we've already priced out what that would cost. It would be about $7,500 per unit. So that's about 330,000 for the value add play. And in about 5 to 10 years, the roof could be replaced. There's about 5 to 10 years of life left. So it doesn't need to be done now, but I'd rather go ahead and take care of it as soon as possible. So that would be another $150,000 just to upgrade the roof for another 20 to 30 years of life. So going in, my value add would be about 500 grand that I would need to have ready to deploy to be able to raise the rents and increase the value of the property. So that is my play. So with all that information, I submitted a letter of intent to the listing agent on Monday based on all the facts that we have of the projections, the actuals, the value add play, the increase in rent potential, and just, you know, a slight slush fund just for any incidentals that could occur upon closing. My offer is 11.5 million that went to the seller on Monday. So obviously that's a big difference than what the seller was hoping for. But I provided a story in regards to my offer. The listing agent is well aware of things that we brought up that were not in the brochure, as far as the actual rents, the amount of expenses present, how we would like to decrease the expenses. Because with COVID, obviously the last 12 to 18 months, expenses are much higher with cleaning, with regulations, with protection of staff. That's a high expense, and thankfully, you know, with vaccinations and protocols in place, that's starting to come down as we speak, but we don't know what tomorrow brings. So we have to take that into consideration as well. And I did ask for seller financing as well. So with Annabelle's slide, she mentioned that her price is 850. She put down 350,000, and the seller basically was the bank for the difference of 500,000. Those, in my opinion, those are the best deals you can get. I don't care what kind of real estate it is. Two of the single family houses that I own as rentals in Ohio, I have seller financing on them. So my name is not on the mortgage. The seller's name is on the mortgage. I own it, but they act as the bank. You can't get a better deal than that because you're qualifying without having to go through the rigors of what it takes to get a mortgage, the 1003 application, the running of the credit, all of those things. You're able to vouch based on the property and based on you. So if you can get seller financing on any kind of real estate, always try to do that. So with all this information and all the back and forth we've done the last 5 to 6 weeks, I have soft commits to do a syndication. A syndication is basically a pool of investors who fund your deal, and it has to go through a lawyer, and it has to be a certain. There's two types of syndications. There's 506B and 506C. I advertised for this deal with certain folks. So the type of syndication that I was pursuing was 506C, which means I could only allow accredited investors to invest in my deal. And to be an accredited investor, I believe you have to be individual or married couple with a net worth of $1 million, and or have a 2-year consecutive income of, I believe it's 250,000 if you're individual, 500,000 if you're married. So only those folks could invest in this particular deal with me that I solicited to, because I advertised for it, and that's just the rules. So I have soft commits for my deal, but I didn't get any hard commits until my LOI was accepted, and I went back and forth on what the number would be with my lenders because we wanted to make sure we weren't overpaying. So now that the LOI is in, the listing agent acknowledged it on Monday. He didn't balk at the seller financing. I don't know if he knew that was coming or not, but he does know my goal was a syndication, but I also decided to ask for seller financing as well. And if I'm able to get the seller financing, then it's possible that I will be able to buy it on my own. Or if there's a counter, I do have an investor who's willing who hard committed to me this week of 1.3 million. So at least at least I have that. And then I can go back to my other investors who soft committed to me as long as I had the LOI in place. So that's kind of where I am on this deal. At 11.5 million, it's a fair deal, in my opinion, to the seller. He still will get cashed out if he accepts the seller financing at a later date. And that later date is 24 to 36 months. And I'm going to pay him an interest only loan during that time. And another thing is a lot of sellers are interested in seller financing in present day for tax purposes. It alleviates a big tax burden that can come down the pipe. We don't know what Congress is going to do with tax laws. I mean, every administration is different. So that allows them to still get their monthly guaranteed income. And they know down the line that they're going to get cashed out because there's no way the property doesn't at least stay the same or appreciate. So that's kind of where I am with that deal. It's, it's not as intricate as I thought it was, but it's still a lot of work because you have to go back and forth with your lender. You have to go back and forth with the seller. And I still have to fly up to walk the property if this LOI is accepted. So another big important thing is when you do buy a multifamily property, you have to look at every single unit. You can't just buy it and take someone's word. You have to go inspect every single unit. You have no idea what you may see. It could be exactly what they said, but there could be a surprise. So if this LOI is accepted or when it's accepted, I do look forward to going up and walking in units, learning the city, learning the area, and then moving forward. So that's kind of where I am.
So Michael, how much are you trying to raise? What's the total amount?
Sure. So with this particular deal, my broker tried 3 different lending avenues. There's SBA, which is the most attractive because that's the lowest down payment. There's conventional, which is normal. And then there's private money as well. So for this particular deal, we're going after conventional because of the
Are you doing like a Freddie or a Fannie?
yes.
Okay.
So because of the 6 figures in income that's received from the food program is what we call it, the food program, they won't count that income with SBA. So we have to go conventional. Conventional means 35% down. So my total raise is 35% of the 11.5 million. The EMD, which is earnest money deposit, the loan costs, the broker fee. And that's one more thing. I am licensed in California, so I will be representing myself on the deal. The seller doesn't want to represent both sides. He only wants to represent the seller side, so that's fine. So that's a 2% commission to me on the buying side. And then their lending costs, which is 1%. And the carrying costs, which include the capital expenditures, which is AKA CapEx, which is the value add bullet points that I need to do, which are the roof, the kitchenettes, and common ground. So the total raise, if it was a complete syndication, if the seller financing is rejected, is 5 million. 5 million. So that's where I am. I have a commit of 1.3 from my investor, but I do have soft commits if the LOI when the LOI is accepted from other investors. So that's
this you're assuming. Oh, you're factoring in a conventional loan, not seller carrying back. Correct.
Yeah.
Would he carry back, or would he do a seller financing?
I'll find out. I don't know. Because no matter what, the loan is 65%. That I know. Right. So there's no getting around that. If he agrees to the 40%, then I'm over financed. Then I have 105%. So that would be even more wonderful. But I expect a counter of some kind. The seller claimed he had non-contingent offers, which I've never seen anybody get that in multifamily unless it was cash. I mean, if you want to buy cash, I understand that. But non-contingent with the lender, I've never seen that.
No.
And other mentors of mine in the space have said they've never seen that.
No.
And the lender said he's never seen that. So I don't know. I don't know if they're playing hardball, but what I do know is they accepted the LOI, and they said they would get it reviewed and they'll get back to me. So we'll see.
Okay, that's great. So we have a question. Someone here
Sure.
is asking, what's the ROI for the investor?
Okay. So with the syndication,
Mhm.
I send out an executive summary for my syndication request as far as investor funds. So the way I broke it down is 10 shares. So for the 5 million raise, each share will be 500,000, and I would pay a 10% return on your money. So right away, you would get 10% of that 500,000, which is 50,000 annualized. If it's 18 months, then it'll be 50,000 plus 25,000, which is 75,000. Then my goal with the property is to do the value add play, increase the rents, decrease the vacancy, and get it appraised and refinance cash out 75% within 24 to 36 months, which is typical for multifamily. So if I buy it at 11 and a half, I honestly think we walk into it with equity. I don't know. I can't say how much because there's no appraisal in place. But just looking at the comps for the area, I think we will walk in with equity. But I think when I'm able to increase the rents with the addition of the kitchenette, if we can get that vacancy factor down to 5%, which they've already increased enrollment into filling those vacancies the last 3 months. So if I can do that, I think we can get to 16 million in 36 months. Because in this community, in the city of Carmichael, there's 55 and older independent buildings everywhere. It's like a whole city of them. And our building, compared to other buildings, we're undervalued because we're just a little bit older building. But everyone has almost 100% vacancy. So it's a very popular place to essentially go retire independently. So, and doing my homework of the area, I've never seen a city with this many 55 and older buildings in one little town. So that's promising that we'll be able to increase the rents pretty rapidly and get those vacancies filled. So
Great.
to add to the return is 10% return on your money, which is annualized. And upon the cash out refi, each investor would get, of those 10, would get 2% of the net proceeds. So if we go in at 11 million and we're out, and I mean, of course, we have to add in the costs over that time. But if we go in at 11 million and we're out at 17, we subtract the net proceeds, and each of those 10 investors would get 2% of those net proceeds. So they would get cash flow and they would get a piece of the equity.
And are they getting are they keeping, I mean, they get their equity, they still keep ownership of the property until it's sold, correct?
Correct. And perpetuity. I can't say that word that good, but perpetuity, yes.
So basically they're going to get cash flow. They're going to get 2% of their investment back,
At the net
and they
proceeds.
still keep a percentage of the ownership in that property, continue to get the cash flow until you guys sell.
Correct.
Or whatever the exit strategy is.
Exactly. So they're 10% which is cash flow. Upon the refinancing event, they'll get all of their money back, so their whole 500,000 back, plus 2% that we've netted at that juncture, and they'll still get cash flow. I mean, they'll have all their money back, they'll still get cash flow forever,
Right.
Beyond that point. And then if we ever sell, they'll be cashed out again.
Right.
Exactly.
And your minimum is 250. So are you doing the accredited, or are you going to
Yes.
you will be doing the accredited? Okay.
Yeah. It's, I went back and forth with a couple folks as to should I have 2 classes, a class for accredited, a class for non-accredited. And they said because of the size of the deal, it would probably be better to stick to accredited. I do have a syndicating lawyer already in place.
Okay.
So he's well aware of the deal.
Who are you using?
Paul Vincent, he's based in Cleveland.
Okay.
So I know him because of my single family investments out there.
Okay.
But he's an investor too. So he already owns apartments. He
Okay.
syndicates for several people I know. So
Okay,
he co-signed it. This is a great deal. You need to do what you need to do to get it. So
right.
I feel comfortable with
awesome.
the deal. Yeah. And I feel comfortable with my team. I just need a yes.
All right, very good. Well, does anyone have any questions? I mean, this is a great opportunity. We've got like a real live opportunity situation here that, it's open. Let's see here.
Oh.
There's a question. What's the best way to get in touch with you both? Oh, Michael and Annabelle.
I'll put my email
Sorry.
address.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll put my phone number there. Any questions, feel free. It's open to anyone. All right, I put my info there. So Sharmi, feel free to connect with me. I mean, you can call me after this call if you'd like. Let's see here. Oops. All right. Any other questions? Michael, I mean, it seems like a great deal if you actually have an OM on that property, send it. I mean, I'd like to look at it because, I'm in a position right now where I am exposing myself to everybody and anything. I've sold my property and I have to reinvest, right? And I have to figure out where and how I'm going to do it. And I'm also going to be talking to my attorney to see if it makes sense to 1031. I may not. I mean, if I go into a syndication, group or someone that's syndicating, they're able to give me a K1 with, expenses that I can pretty much, whatever it is, this 1031 I'm going to have to pay, right? My taxes will be, I can kind of make it up on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a position right now where I'm really opening myself up to many opportunities and deals out there. And I'm open. So, I mean, if you'd like to send it to me, or if you want to, if you send it to me, I can have my assistant send it out to everyone that's on this call so that they can review it and take a look at it. And if they have questions, reach out to you.
Okay, perfect. I will. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. My pleasure. Any other questions?
I want Michael.
Yeah.
In California, is there a distinction between assisted living and independent living? And does, like in New York, there's a Mitchell Lama program and other programs that exist that freezes rent. Does that occur in California or at this particular time?
So for the first part, the first question, there's a big difference between independent and assisted. When you have the assisted living, there's usually a department that's involved with the state that oversees it, it regulates it, it certifies it. So I don't know if I would be interested in buying this deal if it was assisted, because there'd be more red tape, more hoops to jump through. The fact that it's independent, meaning that, there's still people working, there's still people going and coming as they please. There's less regulation, and especially in the state of California, which is already heavily regulated with all kinds of stuff. That's the biggest reason why I was attracted to it, because it was strictly independent, but not assisted. So there is a huge difference. I think everywhere, but especially in California with those two distinctions. And then as far as the second thing you said about the rent freeze, I don't know exactly about that, but there is rent control throughout California, depending on where you live. It changes by the city, but for this particular deal, there is no rent control. So just to add to that, I think everybody on the call knows California has really high rents, but when I saw what the rents were for this place, I didn't mention that, but there's only three sizes of units in this particular deal.
Oh yeah, what's the mix?
Sure. So there's studios, which are 300 square feet if you could believe that. And then there's what they call executive studios, which are 500 square feet. And then there's the 1 bedroom, 1 baths, which are 650 square feet. So there's a mix of those three only. And the average rent is $2,200 average.
Wow.
And like I was mentioning, this particular area of California, Northern California, is like a bedroom community of 55 and older buildings and communities. There's like 40 something I found in this one little area. My building pales in comparisons to some of the rents of the others. Some of the others, the rents are $3,500 for 1 bedrooms. So the reason why I mention that is there's room to grow with things that I can do to the building and decreasing the expenses. So there's a good runway for me to increase the value rapidly, especially looking at the other buildings surrounding mine, because if someone doesn't want to pay $3,500, or if they have the money to pay $3,500, but they choose to pay $2,300, then they'll easily come to my building if it's right down the street. That's kind of how I see it. So rent control is important, I think, when you consider buying multifamily as well, especially in California.
Not monopolizing questions. The other question I have is, now I can't remember the question.
Right.
It dealt with the appraisals versus the comps, because my understanding of multifamily is that it's difficult to, use comps for, appraisals.
Yes. So multifamily, it's not the same as single family, right? So single family, you look for similar property, similar size within a half-mile radius or 1 mile or less that are similar to your subject property, and you base your value on that. Multifamily, what's most important are your rents, and that's what values are based on. Now, you will have there are times like this particular property where there's been sales of apartment buildings in the same city. So when I use the word comp, that's probably maybe not the best word. I probably should say there's just been other apartment buildings that you can evaluate that have sold within a year or so, where you can look at their cap rate,
Right,
based on what they were selling at, and then you can kind of average those sales to get the cap rate for the whole area. So that's kind of how the apartment buildings are compared. It's more about the cap rate and what's your total rents, or actually what's your net operating income, which are your total gross income minus your total expenses, what's left. And this is before your mortgage is involved. And that's what the values are based on. So it's more about how much are you bringing in income. That's what values of apartment buildings are based on. If I buy this property at 11.5 million, I raise the rents $200 average, and that's noted and that's factual and it can be verified, then your value is going to go up exponentially, because it's the cap rate formula that they use in the industry. So it's more about how much are you bringing in for apartments.
right. And I think I've in many of the the talks that I've done, I have shared how when I bought, right, my property, it just wasn't producing enough income. And so that's why I picked it up for $850,000. Well, in 2 years, rehabbing the units and increasing the rents, it doubled in value pretty much. We're talking in 2 years. So, and you do want to check and see what other apartment complexes are doing in the area, so that you're also competitive and you're not extremely overpriced on your rent. You want to be within reason, but you know what, taking into consideration that if you're improving the condition of the home, you're going to be able to increase the rent. For sure, you will increase the value of the property. That's the beauty of multifamily. Very different than single family. It doesn't matter what you do to your single family, you're going to sell it based on other homes that have sold in the area that have the same features and benefits as that house that you're listing, regardless. And that's the difference with multifamily.
Exactly.
So I hope that answers your question, William.
No, it does. I mean, it does. But he said comp and praise. I just wanted to see what the distinctions were. And I guess the last is you don't share your added value to the seller, because I was wondering if he basically knew what your added value is, what makes him say, wait a minute, I can get this out, why don't I back up and I do it myself?
You know, and it's funny, but it really just depends where the seller is at, right? Like their mindset or their lifestyle. Like in Michael's case, the gentleman is, he's older. He doesn't want to deal with it. He's far away. He wants to now move the money somewhere closer to where, he lives. My situation, this kid did not have any money. He had no way of really, like, he wasn't thinking long term. He was just living in the moment, and all he knew is that he could not keep up with all the rehabbing that this property needed. He didn't see ahead. And it's funny because, I'm working with the same attorney that we used when we purchased the property, the referral came from the seller, and I've maintained a relationship with this attorney. And he asked me, because he's reviewing all my the purchase contract and all the documentation, and he's like, and how much did you pick this up for? And when I told him the price, he's like, man, he's probably kicking himself in the butt right now, if he would have kept it up, but he didn't. And he just wasn't even mentally, he wasn't even there. So one's loss is another's, right?
Yeah, like this guy, he's done. He wants to, the listing agent was frank with me. He wants to go buy a luxury apartment building in San Diego where he lives. He put in over $5 million. He got it to where it is now. He's good with, with where it is now, and he wants to move on. And he already owns 2 other ones, so for him, it's no big deal. Like who knows how many millions he has, but it's like I'm where he probably was, so he's beyond where I am. So it's like just transferring. Like nothing really is lost or gained. It's just a transfer. Right. Like I'm taking his place, and then he's moving on to another place, and that's what I noticed about multifamily. It's it's just moving around pieces. That's it.
That's it. It's moving around. You said it. That's exactly it. Because I've talked to so many, and they don't keep them for 20 years. Some will keep them for 20 years, but the majority are constantly, anywhere from your 3 to 5, 6 years, they cash it out, they move it, they go somewhere else. They'll, try to double that up again, hopefully it appreciates, that capital is doubled, and then you're constantly moving. Yeah. So Michael, I thank you very much. This was awesome. I think it's great to actually get to hear a live, deal that you're currently working on. Definitely, let us know, connect, continue to come and join us. And if anyone on this call wants to connect with Michael, his number is on the chat. And Charmy, feel free to reach out to us. You can call me, or if you want to ask any questions on here, you can as well. It's up to you. But anyway, this call is every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And next week, I'm going to try to have another guest speaker. And if not, it'll be the following. But please, continue to follow me, join me. Any questions, any deals, any opportunities, bring them by. I'd like to hear them, and I'm sure others on this call would like to hear it as well. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great week. Michael, thank you so much. And I'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, Williams.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. I will be reaching out.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.